Hi, hello, welcome to Spell Day. We're covering spell every single day of the year from the 5e PHB +3. The +3 are homebrew, we're at +1 at the moment. You can go back in the playlist to find that one. Today's spell is Geas. I think that's how you pronounce it.
So that's it? What, we some kind of suicide squad?
5th level enchantment, casting time of 1 minute, range of 60 feet, components verbal, duration 30 days. Not concentration. You place a magical command on a creature that you can see within range, forcing it to carry out some service or refrain from some action or course of activity as you decide. If the creature can understand you, it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become charmed by you for the duration. While the creature is charmed by you, it takes 5d10 psychic damage each time it acts in a manner directly counter to your instructions, but no more than once each day. A creature that can't understand you is unaffected by the spell. You can issue any command you choose, short of an activity that would result in certain death. Should you issue a suicidal command, the spell ends. You can end the spell early by using an action to dismiss it, or remove curse, greater restoration, or wish spell can also end it. At higher levels, when you cast the spell using a spell slot of 7th level or 8th level, the duration is 1 year. When you cast this spell using a 9th level spell slot, it lasts until it's ended by one of the spells mentioned above. It's a shot caller. So, I am going to elaborate on why this is not an instant, friend spell, like the Charm Person spell, and it's closer to Dominate Person, but more only adding an incentive instead of directly controlling. In particular, the charm conditioned itself and not the spell Charm Person. So the charm condition means that the charm target can't harm the charmer with an effect, magical will directly attack them, you get it, you can't hit them. Then the second one is the charmer has advantage on any ability check to interact with the charmed. Wait, what? Oh, interact socially. I almost thought for a moment that grapple checks would have advantage, but no, interact socially with the charmed. It does not mean that they're instantly your friend. Yet they are under the charmed condition, which just means they can't hurt you, but that does not mean you're a friend for 30 days. All this really does is set up the condition that, hey, if you don't do this activity, or you do this activity, it does a 5d10 burst of psychic damage to the target. Only once per day, though. So this isn't really going to be cast on high-level monsters or certain enemies, because 5d10 is great, but does also still have the potential to only do 5 damage. Yes, the average is above that, but you're kind of getting what I mean, I hope. So if you do this on a dragon, it could really shrug this off if it really wanted to do the activity, and it doesn't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. It can now do that activity. If the alert is to not warn people about what you're doing, on the one day they risk it, and they survive, they have the remaining day to do whatever you told them to not do. Or to not do whatever you told them to do. So the main target for this spell is going to be low HP creatures, which might limit its use, especially for already spending a 5th level spell slot on it. Like, if you did this on a goblin, yes, that's a big threat. That's going to kill the goblin if it doesn't do this activity. But when it comes to, if you were to cast this on an NPC or a player, at a certain point, levels-wise, or if you have healing or revivify, that's not going to be that big of an effect if you are doing this on a player. Also, the fact that certain spells can just undo it, remove curse being one of them. Greater restoration I can be a bit more okay with. Wish stopping it, I mean, wish stops a lot of things. The upcasting times, however, make this quite interesting. Okay. So the reason the upcasting time is interesting. 7th to 8th, bring it up to a whole year, that is a high level spell slot. It doesn't, 6th is skipped. 6th level is skipped. You have to immediately jump to 7th or 8th. And then 9th makes it until it's dispelled, which is really good, but you need to be targeting. So, the situation that this would be used by is not on the players, and I don't think too many times by the players. It could be used by the players, but by a villain, or BBG, or the person behind a game or something. You could put this on captains or generals for disloyalty, but then again, depending on their stealth. Material-wise, stat block-wise, there are certain enemies and ranks that can just tank 5d10 if they need to. And not to mention these effects that can just stop it. Think of an evil wizard that on their various warriors or the people that join their group or cult, they cast this on them to make sure they stay loyal. Because if they're not loyal or they spill something about it, they take 5d10 and might die. If they're weak enough. Again, so what you'd want to be targeting, it's so high level, you'll be casting this, or the year in indefinite version of this. You'll be casting this sparingly. Now that I think about that though, I'm thinking greater realism. No. So you'll get this every day, but similar to Finger of Death, 60 feet though, you could cast this at a distance. Does take a minute. This is to put someone under your thrall or a bit of incentive so they don't break something. This is the bomb collar. This is the shock collar. This is that trope in any Suicide Squad kind of film. At the base of the skull there, but instead of explosives, it's going to do psychic damage. And where the explosives actually have some benefit, that's going to guarantee a kill. 5d10 psychic damage might not guarantee a kill. If you want to set up a low-level game of players that are forced to do a heist that had this cast on them, see, that might be interesting. You just got to make sure none of them have access to Remove Curse or Greater Restoration. I doubt they'll have Wish. But no, this is the bomb collar, shock collar, bomb in the head. That's what this is for. It's a little niche because it doesn't actually charm the target, just stops them from doing something. And it's best used on low-level targets, peasants, or NPCs. I mean, hey, rig people in... Also, what's the complexity of the command you can give? It doesn't say specific sentence, it doesn't say forcing to carry out. That, I think, is up to interpretation? Not to mention, there's also a wisdom saving throw at the expense of a 5th level spell that takes a minute to cast. Also, I'm reading through this and I'm wondering, is the command just what you give when you cast this? Which could still work, like stay silent, or if you betray me. Like, also, how vague of a command can you give? There's no limit for sentence, outside of a suicidal command. So when casting this, is it only the one command? Because then that also limits this further. If you cast this and then can, whatever you say, reestablishes what is now the condition for when that psychic damage kicks in, this becomes way better. Because that's a 5th level spell slot for 30 days where you can just keep giving commands to the same target, different ones. If it's just at the initial casting of the spell, I have a question as to the limit of the command, because it's not limited to a few sentences like suggestion, and it's not limited to a specific kind outside of the suicidal clause. I don't know, there's a... I might not be thinking this one entirely through, but bomb collar, shot collar, that's the image I'm getting of this spell. And it's a little limited in what it can target because high level stat blocks, it just will be unaffected or will be willing to risk it because it's only once a day. I've already repeated myself a few times. So, spell-wise, 6 out of 10. I don't see, in the times where it is used, it could be really useful and it could be played up villain-wise on certain NPCs and on certain groups within noble courts, within councils, within even just like a blacksmith shop or something, just spies. Like a villain ensuring loyalty to an extent. But because you can't give specific, because it's only in retribution and that retribution is a bit faulty. And to make it last any longer than 30 days is quite the toll. But 6 out of 10.